Randy, what's going on? As you guys come in, just let me know my mic is clear. Just want to make sure we don't have any issues ahead of time here. Welcome in, though. Welcome in. Izzy, testing, testing. Make sure I'm clear. What's up, Durush? I'm good. Perfect. Appreciate that. Welcome in, everyone. What a day. Today was actually one of the days that it was actually exciting. We didn't have much chop that really affected the main tickers that we were pretty much all having eyes on. And then after hours action was just even better. What a week. Randy, I actually don't even think the week is over yet. I think tomorrow is going to be another major day. And I'm actually going to be honest, I didn't chart much going into tonight's session because usually I have quite a bit on the watch list. But due to the action that happened after hours, I'm really feeling that we're going to have some kind of twist come tomorrow morning. So I don't want to chart off of the levels that happen after hours. So I just want to give you guys that heads up. That was a drastic, broader market drop that we had, and it could easily be bought up by tomorrow morning. There was a point where futures were trying to push back up, so I want to see what the action is going to be tomorrow morning, pre-market, and then I'll do my charting. So, in a broader market perspective, I think it was a little bit overdone for what's really going to happen. And PayPal 250, that was just horrible. R- Izzy just told me I was good, and now I got a robot voice. How is that possible? Robot voice. Okay. All right. Testing, 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 testing. Am I good? I know when Tom comes in here, it's usually something. I think it's really Tom. It has to be. All right, I sound better? All right, there we go. All right, so like I was saying, I didn't chart much tonight based on the levels that we saw after hours because I do think that that was a little bit overdone on the price action that happened on that broader market sell off this evening. So I want to wait for tomorrow morning if the pressure eases or if the selling pressure continues tomorrow morning. And then I'll do my charting and we'll see what the market looks like. What I'm really expecting, and this is pretty much my personal opinion here, is that we're likely going to continue to see the selling pressure go into the morning. And then we're going to see a nice little gap up at the open. A nice little uptrend will recover pretty much, I want to say, about 50% of most of the drops that happen. And then we'll likely pretty much just shut back down. So it won't be a full recovery. I don't expect that because it looks like those drops are a little bit too drastic. I mean, the drops that I think can fully recover would be like Amazon. And speaking of Amazon, my top two watches tomorrow are Amazon and Tesla. So I will point that out. Snap was just insanely crazy. Now that you bring that up, Sids, what I actually tried to mention and I actually tweeted it out because everyone pretty much blew a cap about Tesla about Snap. I mean, the drastic effect that everyone had looking at the results of Snap was just insanely crazy. But that was actually a sub $20 stock just last year, what, like August, September? It's nearly tripled, more than tripled, from $20 to what, a 70 something dollar stock just before earnings here. So it was pretty much expected that it was going to get a decent sized pullback. I was expecting to the low $60 range. I did not expect 50s. So it was a very drastic pullback that Snap had. I definitely did not expect that. So we basically filled this entire gap that we had on Snap looking at the 4 hour here, as I touched bases on this one early, and even then some. So I expected to fill half of this gap, more or less, at least, and then test down the gap, the complete gap fill at a later time, which would put us in that lower $60 area that I mentioned. But that was not the case. And I think if everyone didn't notice, Dan actually bought the entire drop. I think he got in at like $55 on shares. I do agree that that is a beautiful long-term hold. Snap has a beautiful long-term hold here. So buying at that level, you're getting a nice little discount here because I don't think it's going to hold these 50 range for too long. But definitely that drop was drastic, but the bigger jaw-dropping effect was the broader market sell-off. We had Facebook just go down to what, 20 something dollars. We had Google go down about 20 something dollars also. Amazon one, they went down like a $10. I expect that to fully recover. And I'll get to my Amazon chart. But let me get into the charts that I do have, and then we'll see where we go from there. But Nasdaq, real quick, I do have a little bit of a megaphone action here going on. My levels are still pretty much the same as they have been. We're pretty much teetering right around Nasdaq futures here on my level that I had of 15,398. We're just literally teetering about it. And so we'll see if we get the price action to go up on the megaphone or if we go down on it. One second, guys, my bad. Okay. So we'll see if we get the uptrend to go test the resistance on the megaphone here shortly, or if we end up getting down to the breakdown of 15,338 and then testing the support on the megaphone. So those are the two ranges where I'm looking at. I think we're just in the middle of the pack right now. It's a little too early to say what's going to happen because obviously we want to see, does that selling pressure increase by tomorrow morning or do we get a relief? And that's a little bit more difficult to say right now. Being near all-time highs almost on S&P 500, which I'll flip over to now, we're literally within inches of all-time highs. So it's just insanely crazy right now to say, okay, if we break the all-time highs, then yeah, we're gonna go completely bullish. I mean, the bulls will literally come roaring in and buying everything up. But if we end up getting this selling pressure to escalate on a broader market perspective that we saw after hours, then that's gonna hurt us. So that's where it's a little bit of a seesaw right now, going back and forth. Until the morning, it's hard to determine that factor. But if I get down, we had that rising wedge action just recently here yet into from yesterday. I know that Avery was actually expecting the full reversal. I actually had that feeling as well, but based on the flow that I saw into close yesterday, they just bought everything up. I didn't really see the selling pressure escalate. That was indicating that reversal yesterday, although that was a full bearish pattern that we saw in the rising wedge. But they just pretty much bought up the dip. We had a nice little base. We saw that formation hit here. I actually was expecting to break the all-time highs today. That didn't happen. They held us back. And so right now we'll see exactly if we continue to push back down, how further we push back down. I would expect to retest 44.92 in the morning, and we'll see where we go from there. It's likely that we'll get closer to the all-time highs again to retest come next week. I don't expect it tomorrow. So we have a lot of ground to cover to recover from what's being done. And especially if it ends up selling off, that's just going to make matters even worse going into next week when we have all of those tech earnings coming out. So middle of the pack here, of course, bulls do want to hold 451 here if it can hold. And then 449.92. Well, 44.92 will be my next level of support here. We'll see if that holds. If that doesn't hold, then we'll have to see if pretty much if there's any middle ground before hitting my next level support that I have at 44.72. So we'll determine that by the morning. Again, like I mentioned, just a few stocks that I wanted to just touch bases on, and I will go through the price action I was looking at on Amazon today. And I actually called out where the rejection would likely happen on Amazon. I had a beautiful trade on this one. We broke down on the rising wedge in the middle of the day here. I mean, the price action I saw in the morning and it dumped. I was expecting that to actually get a nice reversal. We held pretty flat to green here on Amazon for most of the day. And so I saw this rising wedge forming and I'm like, all right, it's going to end up dropping. I saw the drop take place. And once we ended up recovering, I saw this getting back over this level of around 34.25. Then I was like, all right, it's going to get a nice little reversal here. And so I saw this forming another little, if you want to say it's a little ascending channel, a little bit, another diagonal. But I did end up scalping this right up to about 34.35 here. And then when I saw this pullback, I wanted to get in on a dip. I knew it would be a little bit short-lived. And so my top was 34.40. And I expected it to reject there. I think I called it out around 1 o'clock that it was going to push and likely reject around 34.40. I didn't want to double dip on it just because I didn't see that the price action was going to get that big of a move, that it was worthy enough to get into that one for another scalp. But 34.40, I did type that out in premium chat for everyone. I pretty much gave you the heads up that it was likely going to reject there, and that's exactly what it did. Market makers pinned it under 34.40, and I was expecting continuation going into tomorrow. But now that we actually have, like, I believe it's like a $10 drop after hours, we have some ground to cover to basically take out that $10 loss, and then on top of that, wipe it out for a nice little run. I saw flow coming in on Amazon for about 34.70 calls. So if this breaks 34.40 tomorrow at any point of the day, I will likely get a nice entry here. I will be here for that, and that will be potentially about $20 or $30 move that it'll likely make. And so that'll be one of the strengths amongst all the other names, the big name tech stocks that are actually bleeding out. All right. So that's one. I will keep an eye again. 34.40 is the mental number there. If it gets over that, then we're bulls. If it can't get over that, then it's pretty much just going to stay stagnant and we'll readdress it come next week. So that'll be one. The other one that pretty much the line in the sand here, and I'm still in the 5 minute. All right, perfect. The other one that I had was we ended up getting a nice little chop here. We couldn't get over and hold above the 895 level. We ended up testing 896 and rejecting. We had that nice initial push. I actually got in on the initial push. That was a beautiful one. I got in somewhere around 887 or 888 that I got filled. And I got that push. And I actually mentioned that I was going to sell right before 900. I got out around 890, 896 or so, 897. And I knew that it would end up rejecting that 900 or it would wick it off, which it did. We actually hit exactly 900 on the wick. And then they just brought us right back down. They wicked us right down. I was expecting that fast movement back to the downside. I wasn't expecting it to just rush us to 920, which was pretty much me and Avery's target this morning as we were talking. And I know that he actually held for a little bit longer, but he probably got in a lot lower than I did. I was waiting for a little bit more of a confirmation through this choppy movement that we had, and that was my entry. So he probably chased a little bit lower, and that's why he held. But being the price action, 900 was the mental number. I knew it would reject there, and that's why I ended up taking my profits. If you didn't take profits, then of course you got pretty much slammed, and you probably got out somewhere around here, thinking that it was gonna go back down. But pretty much the line in the sand, 895, 896. We want to see it get over that level tomorrow. Once we get over that level, then 900 is pretty much hard resistance. And then once 900 breaks, is clear skies basically to 920 tomorrow. So we'll see if this one can get that break, and that'll be a beautiful move tomorrow. I know that it actually dropped just a little bit. I think it was down about like $4 or so after hours. I think that's nothing for Tesla. So that'll be a beautiful one. I'm just hoping that it doesn't gap up. That's the one thing that I'm hoping doesn't happen. Because if it gaps up, that's going to be a disappointment. It's probably going to kill the price action during the day. But we'll keep eyes on that one. The other one that everyone's pretty much watching is Facebook. Facebook's just a little devastating to look at. By the way, I actually did want to point something out on Tesla, by the way, that I forgot. So that everyone gets the broader picture, the bigger picture of this on the 4 hour. If you notice, by the way, on this entire recovery off the 4 hour, so we're going back down to about January, February of this year, we actually hit the exact same level that we just rejected off of. So I just wanted everyone to know that for those of you that didn't look on a bigger time frame, we wicked off of 900 as well back in January. That was January 25th, and we just wicked off the same level. So I just want to make sure that everyone knew about that. So it could end up being that we end up getting the pullback. As you see, we do have those gaps. After, I would expect us to get to 920. If we don't end up crossing that 900 mark yet again, then I do expect to fill those gaps. So I just wanted to point that out to you guys. All right. Because we could end up getting a pullback before we get the massive push back out of that 900 range. The 900 resistance, I would say. So moving back on, I did have Facebook. I was looking at this one as it just pretty much just plummeted after hours. That was just a horrible move that it ended up making. The fact that a lot of buyers are now trapped, that's the problem with Facebook. And I know that me and Avery were actually looking at this not too long ago, and he was pointing out the downside on a larger time frame, that it was going to go back to about the 300 range at the very least, to about $300 mark. And we actually see a little bit more downside than that. That's pretty much horrifying. and there's a lot of buyers that are actually trapped. When we first gapped down around that, what is it, 340 range, that was already horrible enough, and buyers tried to step in. Now you have another 20-point gap down. So now you're basically having the average down, which is just horrible. That's really insane because you already entered at 340 for those buyers that stepped in, especially those that pretty much got in maybe long term with shares. But now you already got a 20-point drop. So it's like now you have to average down. That's pretty bad. But I do have my key levels outlined, which I'm looking to see if we hold. My first key level of support is 322. That looks like hard support right now. As you see, we kind of wicked through it, but we immediately recovered. But 322 is the level that I'm watching here going into tomorrow. I believe after hours we pretty much breached about 325, 326 after hours here. But I want to see us hold 322. It's highly likely that we see that 322, if not pre-market, then likely at some point tomorrow, and then we get that hard bounce from that level. If we end up cracking below 322, then my next level of support is 314. So I wanted to point that out to you. 322 is the mental number, and then if that doesn't hold, then 314 is the next level. So this would actually be more in the favor of puts. If we end up breaking 322, then it's more than likely going to 314. So I just want to point that out. So if it breaks 322, I will likely even enter puts at that point because this is a clear downtrend. I mean, just like we had a clear uptrend when we went and we ripped from what 254 all the way up to these highs of where we reached 384. We're already down about 40 points from where our highs were not even that long ago. That was practically just last month that we were at those highs. We already dropped 40 points in just a month. So it's not unreasonable to get another drop here, reach down to 314, and then at that point of 314, we'll have to see. Of course, the earnings also next week, that could be another factor. We'll see what they really do come next week on earnings. It could be a modest bounce just based on the numbers because of the fact that it's oversold. And so we could see a modest bounce. That may be actually a nice point of entry for a short because there's nothing really that would reverse this in my opinion. I don't think the numbers, there's just too much noise surrounding it. But again, those are just the key levels I want to point out, 322, 314. We'll keep an eye on those key levels and then we'll play the action based upon how they hold or break. All right. Another one I'll keep an eye on here come tomorrow will be UPST. We have this ascending broadening wedge here. What we actually have building now is a little bit of a falling wedge action here. So I do want to see this actually hold. After hours, we are about 351, about a $3 drop. And so I want to see it actually hold this level of 346, near 347. And that could then potentially be a nice dip entry here on support of the falling wedge, in which we get a nice breakout. So I will watch that 346, 347 level as it likely pushes a little bit down further into the morning hours tomorrow at the opening bell, and I will take that entry at support level at 346, 347, and we'll see if we get some type of price action up to the upside. Otherwise, if it ends up breaking the support, then it's likely that it's coming down to the support level of the broader wedge. Okay. The other one that was a little bit surprising was Roku. We saw Roku actually break down. This one was just a little bit. I was a little dumbfounded by the price action on this one. It dropped pretty much $10 after hours on Roku. I was not expecting that kind of drop and that sudden. But I will be watching this one. We got down to about the 324 level after hours, so right around here. So my key level of support that I'm watching for is 320. I want to see 320 hold. If 320 holds, then that will be a good bounce zone. Otherwise, if we end up bouncing, then I want to see us get over this level of 331. And then we could see continued upside back again. What likely may end up happening, because as you see, we do have a nice little support trend line that we broke down, is that will end up breaking 331 and retesting the support trend line as resistance now, and then reject for further downside. So keep that in mind. That's it was just a sudden drop. That was pretty drastic for a $10 move after hours like that. Again, broader market, pretty much everything. We'll see if we get a nice little relief come tomorrow morning. But I'll watch the price action on it. We'll see what it does. I actually do want to see it if it's going to retest this prior trendline support, and that I'll make an actionable play based on that. All right. But that was pretty much just a few stocks that I want to touch bases on. Again, the broader market sell-off, it's kind of hard to determine which ones are really going to fully recover to have a true TA on it, or which ones are really just going to continue to get more selling pressure. All right. Let me see what you guys want to look at. I'll probably look at about 3 or 4 tickers here, and then we'll kind of call it a night. And tomorrow morning, we should have a better projection of what the day is going to be looking like. But someone did mention AMD. AMD is actually a beautiful one, and if you actually notice, I had a little bit of a parabolic curve here on AMD. This actually was looking beautiful. I think this is pretty much a textbook parabolic curve on AMD. You have base 1, base 2, base 3, and base 4. On base 4 is where it goes parabolic. So 120 was really the mark. I saw the flow. I probably called it out today, if I'm not mistaken, if I'm not having deja vu. But I called out 120 calls from the flow, and we breached near 121, probably in change, if I'm not mistaken, after hours. So that was a beautiful continuation after hours. I do actually expect this to continue beyond that. Again, the most recent high that we have to break over is 122.49. So over 122.49, we pretty much have clear skies to the upside. Where's Gaston to be a bear? Um, I'm not really a bear just yet. I really have to see if the selling pressure actually continues tomorrow morning, and then I may put my bear cap on. The funny part is that usually me and Avery are on opposite sides. So that's what's the interesting part right now. He was actually bearish yesterday, and I was actually bullish. So we ended up pushing today, and likely tomorrow by the end of the day, I'll probably be bearish. So we'll see what happens. But back to AMD again, we want to see we're near 121 if we're not above it and some change. We want to see this one get to that 122.49 mark. Hopefully it doesn't double top, so watch for a double top if we end up hitting that 122.49. I hope we don't double top, but if it breaks above that 122.49, then we do have clear skies, and mental target there will be 125. All right, so that'll be a beautiful one. I expect to see continuation on this one, especially since we have other stocks that are very weak in the sector. Example, Intel, and then also Micron. You could throw that one in there as well. I think the two strongest ones in the chip names are pretty much AMD and Nvidia. So those two should continue to push higher into tomorrow, while the other while the other names continue to get that selling pressure. All right. Let me see the other names that you guys threw out here. I'll do 3 more. So I'll throw that out. Let's see. All right, I'm gonna do these last three: VSTO, ET, and MAT. So, and then we'll conclude the day. All right. I have no idea what these stickers are, and I'm pretty sure the one that Izzy threw at me, I probably have no idea what it is either. So let's see what this is. This is a consumer durable stock. All right, looks pretty dope actually. I do like the curl that it had. That was a nice curl that it had from the bottom. I do like that. If I'm looking for a target range, and this is likely what you're probably expecting me to tell you, it will be right here. This will be my first PT right here that I would expect. So we're looking at 4460 round number there for your first target. And next target would be, I'm likely expecting right into this range of this highs. Yep, right into the highs here. So that does cross into 3 levels there of those candles. So, and then my next target would be 4588. So those would be my two targets right there. Again, that's 4460. And then your next range is 4588. Those would be my two targets that I'm looking at for VSTO. I do love that it got that breakout here. It made that breakout over these two candles that were pretty much acting as resistance level over that 43 mark. So over that 43 mark pretty much gave you that nice little run here. As you see, it's pretty much making a strong curl straight up, and you'll get that push into those two PTs that I outlined. All right, that was a beautiful stock. Actually, I didn't know about that one, but that was a beautiful one. Actually, you know what? Matter of fact, I'm actually gonna add it to my wish list. All right, so I added there, so I can always keep an eye on it. I'll come back to it later, and I'll check it out. But definitely good to actually hear that. There's always stocks that you probably don't know or never heard of, and that's actually one that I never heard of. So appreciate that. This one I actually do have outlined, which is really weird because I really don't look at energy stocks like that. I'm assuming that someone had me look at this before. But I do have my levels outlined, which it looks like it's very range bound right now. It just can't hold or stay above this level that I had outlined. It can't stay above $10 basically. So it does need to break over that $10 range, and I think I can actually extend this range now up to the upside here, given that we have a little bit more resistance on this level. So now we basically need to break over 1020 in order to get out of this little range that we have. That's our range of, if you want to say this is your supply level of that $10 mark, and then your demand zone is basically around 970 to 972. So you basically need to get over that $10 mark. You need to hold it, and then you'll see that next level of price action, which I actually have outlined. There's a nice little double top that it had there when it broke down, and that would be 1041. So you definitely need to break over that level in order to get a follow through on this name here. So keep that in mind. Again, pretty much $10, it needs to break over that 1020 mark. 1020 is your hard resistance on ET that you need to get over. All right. And then what was the last one? Easy gave me MAT. All right. Why do I feel like deja vu? I actually do remember this name. Okay, it was the little toy stock that you mentioned. That's what it was. I was like, it sounds familiar after I thought about it. How you forgot Barbies? Of course I forgot Barbies. I mean, why would I remember Barbies? You know what? I'm gonna go get a Barbie for my dog. Actually, that's what I'm gonna go do. Wait, do they have an online website? Is that what it is? I'm assuming that's what it is, right? So you had a beautiful level of support here. As you see, it pretty much anchored down at the bottom, the middle, and the top here. So that's a beautiful level of support that you had. Now you also have a nice little level of resistance that you ended up breaking out of. And so that made what I would say is a falling wedge. You got that little breakout. And so you broke out of that range right around the 1906. So beautiful range that you broke out of. I don't know where that trend line came out of, but I'll delete it there. And so now to outline, where's our PTs now? So let's see. So my first PT will be right around here. So we're looking at a PT of 2130. That will be my first level of resistance that we're looking at. Your first PT. And if we'll cooperate. All right. And then our next level of resistance will be right here where we see a lot of chop going on as a rejection level and support level. Let me get my cursor up. Come on. All right, there we go. So we'll cross that. And so your next level of resistance will be at 2214. All right. So those are the two levels you're looking at. I'm pretty sure you heard me, but I'll reiterate. It's 2130 and then also 2215. All right. I do like that actually. I mean, the chart does look beautiful. It got a nice little breakout here out of that falling wedge. And so you want to see it actually break over here, which it actually wicked, but you want to see it hold above this level right here. Now that I'm noticing that, can I get my cursor there? Uh, Looks like a little bit of a double top little formation there, in which it rejected upon that downtrend that it had in the wedge. But you want to see it hold over 2074. That's the level you want to see it hold over. And then you'll have those PTs that I outlined that you can take profits at. Actually, let me see the daily. Does it actually have... Alright, so no. I mean, on the daily, it's just not really much more. Has it ever been higher? Yeah, it actually has been higher. Wow. Alright, I see it. And you actually broke a major downtrend on this. Let's see if I actually get this online. Is it online? Alright, so you're almost breaking that. Yeah, you're teetering on that breakout right there. So you basically want to see it break over that. It looks like a double top on the larger time frame here also, which that double top is pretty much at 2271. So you definitely want to see it break over that 2271 level overall. And then you'll have better clear skies. You also have a gap fill here. Your gap fill will pretty much enter over 3025. Did I outline that right? Yeah, 3025 will be over 3123 will be your gap fill. So that'll be a beautiful one. That actually, I do like that uptrend there. So that's a beautiful chart that you caught, AZ. I know that you usually catch the weird names, but that is a beautiful chart. I'm not gonna lie. Loving the new green lines. Yeah, I mean, I know it helps make things stand out. But other than that, Did someone really just mention Wish? Actually, I'm only gonna look at that only because I'm curious about the price action and I heard it during live. I'm just gonna take a peek at it real quick. Why does this thing just look dead though? A $5 stock now? That thing is just dead. Why did I hear someone say it was pumping or something? I thought I heard someone on while I was on live saying that this thing was pumping. This thing looks dead. Literally looks dead. Alright, I don't think there's really much to look at here to be honest with you. Cause it's up $4? Wait, what do you mean it's up $4? That better be after hours price action. Are you serious right now? It's not up $4. It's definitely not up $4. I don't know where you got that from. But this thing looks dead to me. This stock literally looks horrible. Wait, isn't this the same stock that Zach Morris was pumping also? It was literally the same stock that he was pumping, and then I think he just died out and he stopped pumping it. Just like he actually pumped pins, and then guess what? It died today. Now all his followers are gonna have to pretty much double down on his trade, but this is your hard resistance basically. You need to basically get over 582, and you need to hold that level. So he bought puts? No, he didn't. Oh, well, he bought puts after he called it out, so everyone could just pretty much get in and bag hold while he profits, if that's the case. But yeah, he's been pumping pins and it pretty much just dumped. But I was just looking at this. So again, over that 582 level, you want to see this hold and get over that level, and then hopefully that actually holds. And you might need a prayer or whatnot, but I'm not really playing this. So I'm not trying to get into the pump train here because I don't see anything to pump up here, basically. So I'm not gonna condone buying into this stock here until it actually gets over $6 and really holds. That's all I'm gonna say on that. All right. On the down low, you're funny. Yeah, he is definitely a certified, and I say certified like I mean a certified nurse, certified doctor, whatever the case. Yeah, he's a certified pump and dumper. So if you actually look him up on Twitter, be very careful with what trades you take. I'm just gonna caution you about that. But that be the case, that actually concludes tonight's session, guys. Hopefully you guys did come out green. I know pretty much if you didn't look at Amazon or Tesla today, you kind of got a little whipsawed in certain places. It's very much a mixed bag right now. So you do have to be very selective what names you're looking at. Even when you see tech is pretty much green, not every tech stock now is holding up. As we saw, Facebook was not holding up very well. So you have to be very selective in this market. Like shop on the day where Nasdaq is pumping, I would expect that to be up more than $9. So be very selective on the names that you're choosing. And tomorrow, I wouldn't rush to buy the dip tomorrow on these names that you saw that sold off after hours. And be very cautious with the social media stocks. And you pretty much know the ones I'm talking about: Pins, Twitter, Snapchat, and Facebook. I don't want anyone to be bag holding those positions. And when I say that, I don't want you to be holding it as a loss. All right. And if you are gonna buy it, if you're planning to buy that, you feel like yeah, it's pretty much oversold, then make sure you get a lot of time on those contracts that you're buying. That's the best case scenario that I can tell you. My personal preference, if you're trying to dip your toes into those social media stocks that got beaten up this afternoon, would be to buy spreads. All right, try to go out for a month out, at least 3 weeks to a month out, and pretty much buy call debit spreads on them for those time frames for 3 weeks to a month out. That would be the best case scenario I can tell you. So that way you're not risking as much capital buying a straight up single call strike, and also that way you're not affected by theta buying, potentially buying out of the money and then having to worry about theta decay. All right. But I'll leave you guys with that. Again, we'll see what the price action is tomorrow. I'm hoping that the sell off doesn't escalate. I mean, Nasdaq was down as much as like 85 points this evening. We're trying to recover. We'll see if it ends up happening by morning, and then that we'll call it a day here. Which is a worse stock, Wish or BA? I would rather not buy anything. I will stay cash. Definitely not buying anything. For that, I just buy a penny stock, literally. I mean, I literally just go buy something that's like 10 cents and just hold it for the next like generation. Yeah, even funny thing was that Tom actually was talking about me paper handing Boeing, and he actually paper handed it today. So I just wanted to point that out. But I'm not here to say anything. All right, we all make mistakes. I mean, Boeing has really been in both of our defenses. It's been a pump and dump. It's been pumping during the day and then just giving it all back. So I mean, it is what it is. I would refrain from touching Boeing at all costs right now. I think the only way that I will probably ever look at that stock again will likely be if it has some kind of news, and it will literally have to pump at least more than $4. All right, but again, I'll leave you guys with that. We'll conclude for tonight. So, everyone go watch some Thursday night football and get ready for probably a wild Friday tomorrow because I expect some nice price action, some big swings after all these sell-offs. All right, but you guys have a good night. All right.